Welcome to this virtual class. Hi, I'm Olumiwa Iroloye, and I am your facilitator for EDM 312, Dynamics of Administrative Leadership in School Organization. In this study session, you shall be learning the concept of leadership in school organization. When you have studied this session, you should be able to define the concept of leadership, describe the school as an organization, list at least 4 key qualities for educational leadership, discuss the leadership task of an educational administrator, list the reasons group members obey leaders, and discuss leadership emergence in organizations. Leadership. Leadership plays a crucial role in achieving the goals of an organization, regardless of its nature. Leaders of all organizations graph the progress of the organization. Leadership has been defined by numerous researchers and practitioners in the field of management, some of which are Lawal 1999, who defined leadership as the process of influencing others to work willingly towards an organization's goal with confidence and keenness. Pareto Modi 2001 also defines leadership as the ability of an individual in a group to persuade, inspire, or influence the attitudes, behaviors, and actions of others or the activities of the organized group so that the group members can work cooperatively and enthusiastically towards goal achievement. Garambai and McManus 2003 says that leadership is concerned with long-term outcomes and future goals of the organizations. He also said that leadership is more about people and less about tasks. Akpala 2007 says leadership is about working with and guiding people in new directions. He also said it is about integrity and trust. Mullins 2007 says leadership is at its best when the vision is strategic, the voice persuasive, and the result tangible. If you look at the foregoing definition, the definition we have seen so far, you will find three common terms in this topic, in these definitions. And the first one is that leadership is an influence process. The next one is a relational process. And the last one is that there must be target, goals, and objectives. Leadership is an influence process because the leader influences the followers to perform a particular task. Also, it is a relational process because there cannot be a leader without followers. You cannot be leading without people following you. So it is a relational process. And there are also target goals and objectives. The leadership tends to drive people towards the achievement of set goals and objectives. Leadership perspectives. Leadership can be viewed from 4 major perspectives. It can be viewed from 4 major perspectives. That is leadership as a status group. And this refers to a situation in which an individual moves to a position of leadership if elected or by virtue of heredity, either by birth because he had to inherit the status from their parents. Leadership as a focus agent. According to this view, leadership empowers those who are considered leaders based on their position within the organization, either by election or selection for position of leadership, director, or executive, or head of an organization. Leadership as a function. A leadership function consists of activities that promote the achievement of groups' goals. So there are functions that a leader must perform. Leadership can also be seen as a process. As a process, from this perspective, leadership is an interactive process in which leaders and followers exchange influence, ideas, suggestions, and contributions to achieve the group's goals. School as an organization. School as an organization. The common definition of an organization is a group of people working together to achieve common goals and objectives. The school system, as a formal organization, introduces the atmosphere for human and environmental interactions. The various groups, through their continuous interaction, are interdependent formally and informally. They operate together and work together, formally and informally. Using an enlarged input, process, output, and feedback model adopted from Obidade in 1989, education as a process involves the following: the input, which is the human resources, material resources, financial resources, constraints, and existing knowledge, which go into the process, and the throughput process, which involves mainly teaching learning process. The output process, which turns out the input as and produce graduates as the output of the system, and the feedback process, which represents the output of the process that are not fit to be passed out into the society, that will now go back into the process as repeaters. We can also use this model by Unwanko 1982 to view it. In the input process, you see the human, which is represented students, the teachers, the administrators, and service staff, and the other material resources, funds, plant, equipment, constraints, theories, policies, and expectations and values. The process, which is the teaching learning process, administration, school activities and programs, meetings, classifications, general school class operations, classroom operations, and the output, which are the educated graduates, school leavers, with the right knowledge, attitude, skills, and fulfilled individual social aims and objectives, and the result of the system. We want to look at the unique characteristics of a school. What are these characteristics that differentiates a school from other types of organizations? We want to differentiate the school from other types of organizations. So the school, according to Ejiogu 1990, possesses some unique characteristics which may not be found in other organizations. The most noticeable of these peculiarities include goal, ambiguity, or multiple goals. This education as it is bewildered with multiple goals. There are several goals, and these goals make it difficult to pinpoint sometimes what is the aim of schooling. There is the social aspect, the political aspect, historical aspect, economic aspect of the goals of education. So there is the goal multiplicity of goals. The goals are usually derived from various opinions and attitudes of various organs of the consumer society. The next one is goal immeasurability. Because these goals are multiple, sometimes it can be difficult to measure them. For instance, in education, one of the goals of education is to create a just and egalitarian society. The next thing will be, how do we measure a just and an egalitarian society? When do we say that a society is just and egalitarian in its approach? So it can be very difficult to measure the goals of education. Another one is school input variability. The input into the school system come from various sources. For instance, the students come from various economic background, social background, and may be difficult to deal with them as a group. But to really be able to deal with them, the teacher will now have to come to the individual level because they are different based on their economic and social status. The next one is that the school operates with unique clientele system. The school has the primary clients and the secondary clients. the parents being the secondary, and the students themselves as the primary clients. So the school serves two groups of people, and that makes it a unique organization. Unlike many other forms of organization, the school, than the output of the school talks to the personnel. The student can complain how you treat them. While in the manufacturing process, the input of the system and the output, for instance, in the plastic manufacturing company, the plastic cannot complain how you treat them, but the input of the system can complain in the school system. The school organization is also characterized by role performance invisibility. And what does this mean? The teacher A, for instance, may perform well, while teacher B, on the other hand, may not perform well. And if there's no proper supervision, it may not be glaring that a teacher is not performing well until the end of the term, when students now begin to fail in the assessment. So there is performance invisibility, which may make failure or the obvious failure of the system to be noticeable only at the end of a term or a session. The next one is that the school as an organization has relatively low interdependence of part. That is, the performance of teacher A may not affect that of teacher B. And while in a manufacturing process, if a system is a subunit of the process fails, the whole system will fail. Unlike the school, that may not be the case. If teacher A performs well, his students will perform well, and teacher B may not perform well, which may directly impact on this performance of the student. In the school also, everyone considers himself a stakeholder in any particular school system. You will find out that even the community where the school is situated has a stake in the school. The market women have a stake. Everybody, the teacher, the students, are all stakeholders in a school system. What are the qualities for educational leadership? Walker and DMOC 2000 identified four interrelated components of key qualities for leadership, which are educational values. It is essential that leaders develop coherent pedagogical values on which to base leadership for school improvement. And the first one there is learning centered. This is the belief in the primacy of learning as the focus of everything that happens in the school. This is the belief that learning is the reason the school exists. Innovation. This is the belief in experimenting with new ideas and in change as a means of improving the school. Lifelong learning. Lifelong learning is the belief that the primary goal of the school is to develop a vision of learning as a continuous and ongoing process, that education is an ongoing process. Education for all. This is the belief that all students have the right to a relevant and meaningful education, meaningful learning experience. Service orientation. This is the belief that the school is flexible and responsive to meeting the diverse needs of its community. Empowerment is an obligation for the meaningful involvement and participation of members of the community, of the school community, in school life. That is, there must be a way that the school empowers the community rather than just drawing from the community. Equity and fairness. Equity and fairness. They believe that the rights of everyone in the school community are duly recognized and that people are treated with fairness and integrity. All process development. This is the commitment to provide students with a comprehensive and balanced education. Comprehensive and balanced education. Professional knowledge. Leadership for school improvement and student performance depends on a clearly conceptualized and shared body of knowledge, which cut across strategic orientation and policy environment. The school leader must have strategic knowledge and policy knowledge of strategic orientation and policy environment of the school, teaching, learning and curriculum, growth and development of leaders and teachers, management of personnel and resources, quality assurance and accountability, external communication and liaison. Skills. Leadership skills to improve school and students are exercised in relation to previously identified leadership roles. These skills can be subdivided into the following components: personnel skills, communicative and influence skills, organizational and technical skills. The fourth one there are the personal attributes of the leader. These are personal traits that leaders bring to the position. The following attributes have been highlighted: adaptability and responsiveness, courage and conviction, confidence in their abilities and actions, persistence, teamwork, and integrity. Leadership tasks of an educational organization. What are the leadership tasks of an educational administrator? The following, according to Marjan 2011, are the significant tasks of the educational administrator in the school system. Number one, guiding and inspiring subordinate. It is the duty of the leader to guide and inspire the subordinate. Two, securing cooperation of subordinate. The administrator also has the duty to secure the cooperation of the subordinate. Creating confidence among subordinates. The leader must ensure that he builds his confidence in his ability in the subordinates so that they can trust his leadership. Creating proper work environment. Creating proper work environment. The leader has the duty to create proper work environment. Maintaining discipline among members. The leader has the duty to maintain discipline among the students and teachers and other non-teaching staff of the school. Facilitating integration of personal and organizational goals. The leader must ensure that he facilitates the integration of personal goals of himself and that of the subordinate with the organizational goals of the school. There must be congruence between the personal goals of the staff and that of the school. And where there is a conflict, that of the organization must take precedence. The last one is implementing change. Implementing change. It is the duty of the task of the leader to implement change. Why do people obey leaders? Reasons for obeying leaders. Group members will obey their leaders for various reasons, and some of them are tradition. People believe that, traditionally, people believe that for the goal of an organization to be achieved, the followers must obey the leaders. Material gains is also another reason. People believe that they can't be rewarded if they obey their leaders. For instance, people believe that if they obey their leaders, when it's time for performance appraisal, the leaders will appraise them well if they obey. Legitimacy. It is also believed that people obey their leaders when they legitimately earn the obedience and followership of their subordinates. When they earn their respect. The main impetus for being in authority is the mutual acceptance among the people to obey the leaders. The belief in the legitimacy of a system of authority is the basis of organizational leadership. So when people believe that the leaders are the leader is a legitimate authority, people will obey. Leadership emergence. Leadership emergence. How do leaders emerge? How do leaders emerge? The following factors have been identified to be associated with leader emergence. Number one, participation rate. The rate at which people participate in an organization can determine whether they will rise to become leaders. People who participate more tend to rise to the position of leadership. Number two is expertise or problem-solving ability. People who are believed to have the ability to solve problems, to remove problems from the system, have the tendency to rise to the position of leadership, because leadership is in itself is about problem solving. The ability to them be able to solve problems will separate one as a leader. Social skill. People who are social savvy have also the tendency to rise to become leaders. People who have social skills, who can relate well with people, who can motivate people, also have the tendency to rise to the place of leadership. Power motive. Individuals who enjoy power and like being in position of authority have a higher probability of emerging as leaders. People who like power, who can have also the tendency to rise to become leaders. We have come to the end of this study session. Now that you have completed this study session, you can assess how well you have achieved its learning outcomes by answering the following questions. Number one, what is leadership? 2, describe school as an organization. 3, list at least 4 broad key qualities for educational leadership. 4, discuss the leadership task of an educational administrator. 5, list the reasons group members obey leaders. And 6, discuss leadership emergence in organizations. In these study sessions, you have learned that leadership has to do with influencing people to work towards the achievement of predetermined goals. You have also learned that a school is a social organization, but has some features that differentiate it from other types of organization. You have learned that school administrators need some key qualities that are essential for effective leadership. Also, you have learned that there are leadership tasks that the administrator must perform in order to achieve the goals of the school. You have also learned the reasons for obeying leaders, reason why people obey leaders. You have also learned that leaders emerge by reason of participation rate, expertise, social skills, and power motive. I would like you to do further reading by clicking on the link on your screen, copy the link, do further reading, and I would like to hear from you. What are the other things you've found on leadership in school organization? Thank you for listening.